Hello everyone, my name is Maya Trajan and I'll be your host today. Last month we kicked off our partner webinar series with MarkLogic. Today we continue this series and are very pleased to present the power of one, creating tomorrow's successful websites on today's budget, with two more of our partners, Flatiron Solutions and Alfresco. A few months ago, Flatiron Solutions approached us with this idea, and I'm glad to say that it has finally become a reality. So without further ado, let me start off with some background information on our speakers. First, we're very pleased to have Eric Severson, CTO and co-founder of Flatiron Solutions. Eric is an internationally recognized XML pioneer and content management industry expert. He drives the company's technical strategy, technology partnerships, and delivery of quality for Flatiron's customers. Eric is a frequent speaker at content management and XML industry events and an active participant in industry and standards organizations. He's also a contributor to a number of content technology blogs. Next, we have Joe Tong from Alfresco. Joe supports Alfresco channel partners in the Americas. He engages with partners to ensure that they have the tools and trainings to develop leading content-rich business solutions. Joe has brought open source channel experience, starting with his time at JBoss and Red Hat. Prior to this, he spent 8 years in solutions marketing with IBM in the mid-range and software group. And finally, our own Toby Conrad, who needs no introduction, since we've had him as most of our webinars. Toby Conrad is a senior consultant with SmartLogic and has advised many organizations such as NASA, Bank of America, Royal Bank of Scotland, BNP Paribas, Oxy, Autodesk, and many others on enterprise semantics for search, content management, and business processes. Let me go through some housekeeping really quickly. Our webinar today will extend for approximately 40 minutes, with about 10 minutes at the end for questions. You can participate in this webinar in two ways. Listen to our speakers and ask questions during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please feel free to get your questions into the Q&A section in the lower corner of the dialog box anytime during the webinar. We will also make a recording of this webinar available approximately 48 hours from now. As always, I'd like to start off the webinar with a quick introduction to SmartLogic, who we are and what we do, although I'm sure most of you are familiar with us right now. SmartLogic is a software company that specializes in content intelligence. SmartLogic Semaphore is a content intelligence platform that identifies, classifies, extracts, analyzes, and surfaces unstructured information based on its meaning and context, enabling enterprises to make timely and informed business decisions. Semaphore complements an organization's investments in best-of-breed applications such as enterprise search, content management, and business process to provide rapid and accurate access to unstructured content so that they can better find, organize, process, monetize, control, and govern their valuable content. Hundreds of organizations, Bank of America, Autodesk, Oxy, Foundation, the National Health Service, ABN AMRO, and many more use SmartLogic today. Okay, so let's get started. I'd like to turn the presentation over to Eric, who's going to set the stage for this webinar by discussing the common challenges organizations face when trying to provide a compelling web experience for their customers, and how Flatiron has brought together Alfresco and SmartLogic to solve these issues. Welcome, Eric, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Maya. First, just a little bit about Flatiron Solutions. We are a consulting and systems integration firm that specializes in content technology solutions. So what that means is we help our customers strategize, architect, design, and implement custom solutions that meet their needs using vendor products like SmartLogic and Alfresco. And to us, content technology kind of is a full range of related technologies, from single source, XML first type publishing, digital rich media management, search and navigation, dynamic delivery, and of course content globalization. And we've been doing this kind of thing for about 10 years now, and we have a wide variety of customers across a number of different market and industry areas. But as diverse as these industry areas actually are, amazingly, most of our customers have very similar kinds of issues with their content. I would say that in general, they're all looking for better content, which means more granular and reusable, more easily repurposed and quickly repurposed across multiple media formats, and of course very accessible, so tagged with rich search metadata, not just relying on full text search. And on that note, they're usually looking for better search and navigation, whether it's an end user kind of interface for someone involved in publishing content for a living, or whether it's an internal, such as technicians trying to get maintenance information at an airline. And that takes more than full text search. As I said, it's faceted search with intuitive taxonomies, the flexibility to support many different ways of kind of approaching and journeying through the search and discovery process, and definitely multilingual support. Better processes is also a big concern. Oftentimes, existing processes are hopped in the old days and are a lot of manual steps that are not always integrated or streamlined. So people are looking for that kind of automation in processes, as well as flexible collaboration rather than older style rigid workflows, so that people are collaborating real time together. They can do it from mobile devices, and they can do it with social networking tools where appropriate. And finally, better content delivery, which is dynamic on-demand publishing that's tailored to each user's need rather than being a one-size-fits-all kind of solution. Today we're going to look at a particular one of our customers that is involved in the business of publishing information on various kinds of equipment and parts and so forth, so that you can go to them really as one-stop shopping for any kind of information that you need, whether you're a professional, a hobbyist, a homeowner, etc., that needs to have some specific kinds of technical manuals or diagrams or information on replacement parts and so forth. And basically, the issue that they're having, as are most of our customers, is this need to have really pinpointed search and navigation to very granular content, rather than just basic search functionality and return of more monolithic content that's not, it might have what the user needs in there somewhere, but it's not pinpointing exactly what they need. This customer is also taking the success that they've enjoyed in the North American market and expanding globally, and so needs multi-language support from what has been an English language only application in the past. And of course, as I've said, like everyone else, more efficient automated production and delivery processes, and the flexibility to keep up with ever-changing information and the need to add new information with processes that accommodate frequent and timely content updates. So bottom line is really the business value that this customer is seeking is greater competitive advantage in North American markets and the ability to expand into global markets. So what I want to do is just give you a kind of overview of the solution that we put together here, and then we'll talk more about the product sets that are underlying this, both how they helped in this solution and kind of the overall power that each of the product sets from SmartLogic and Alfresco bring to the party. And then we'll come back and just do a real quick demo of some of the things that we're working on with this customer right now to show you how this really comes together in practice. So at the center of the solution is what I've called a search portal here, which is both searching through the taxonomies, the classification taxonomies or ontology, and being able to navigate through that information at the same time, as well as integrating full text search and a content delivery mechanism. And SmartLogic is behind the ontology or taxonomy management piece of this, as well as assisting with automated content classification in the capture and pre-processing steps as content comes in, and in helping to generate multiple alternative search terms so that somebody searching through this material does not need to know the exact term that is in the taxonomy, but can be using synonyms and nicknames and that sort of thing and get to the same result. SmartLogic is also managing the search and navigation framework underneath the portal and the links between equivalent multilingual terms when we're in other language environments. And we'll explain a little bit more about that in a moment as well. Alfresco, meanwhile, is handling all the content and metadata management underneath, and automating the content capture, classification, and approval workflows that go into getting content actually into production. It's also helping with links between related topical content and, again, as we'll see in a moment, links between equivalent sets of content expressed in multiple languages. And finally, automation of the content publishing delivery workflows as well. And then Apache Solr, their enterprise search framework, is involved here as well, and both SmartLogic and Alfresco, as you'll see, integrate nicely with Solr. But Solr is actually doing the ontology indexing and search as you type kind of functionality, able to tolerate misspellings and some other things like that that help quite a bit in making the search intuitive, and doing the indexing of the content itself for full text search. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Maya, and we can look at these products in a little more detail.
Thank you very much, Eric, for that comprehensive presentation on the challenges organizations face when trying to provide a compelling web experience for their customers. Joe Tong is now going to go in depth leverage the power of alfresco to manage the content ingestion and production processes, workflows, and user groups. Welcome, Joe, and over to you.
Thanks, Maya, and thanks, Eric, for the intro. It's always great to hear how you're building valued solutions for our common customers on Alfresco's content platform. Just as a quick introduction to Alfresco and who we are, Alfresco is now the largest open source content management company in the world. We were founded by 2005 by a couple of pioneers in the ECM industry, one being John Newton, who was the founder of Documentum. Since then, we've grown to over 2,500 customers in 55 countries and have over 3 million community downloads. So our software is very widely used out there and by many enterprise customers, and some of their key logos are on this page here. But we have use cases in really in pretty much all industries. We have over 250 global channel partners that help with implementation and helping build custom solutions like Flatiron. Trying to get to my next slide. Okay. In terms of the document, in terms of the Alfresco platform, Eric hit on many key features, and one of the main pieces is just document management. In this, the customer had content that they needed to ingest and store to manage their metadata, and that all happens in our document management platform, which captures and shares, and you can retain your corporate content. What content is based on industry and the company that you are. It can be as simple as documents, but it can be also video and images, graphics files, and even design files and things like that. We also have a records management module that provides governance and compliance with the retention of corporate records and government documents. So for those companies that are in highly regulated industries that need to understand how to tag a piece of content as a record and manage that through its life cycle, and then through ultimately when that record gets disposed of, we do have a module that takes care of that as well. In terms of web, we have a web content. So Alfresco is more of a web content services platform that plugs into other web interfaces like Drupal or Liferay or portals, JBoss portals, or your own custom web apps. So we can manage and host their content, regardless of what that is, for those other services to take it and publish it out to an external or internal site. And then we have an enterprise collaboration suite called Share, where you can internally and externally create, share, and collaborate on content for your organization. You can discuss that content, like it, follow it, and do all those kind of things, and then publish it out to social channels. And then finally, as an open source platform, you have the ability to leverage Alfresco as a platform to build content-rich applications for your organization with our open standards like CMIS and JSR 168. So regardless of what your needs are, you can leverage us as a platform to build those applications for your organization. Earlier this year, we announced a new enterprise version of Alfresco, Alfresco 4. We're calling it the most user-friendly, cloud-connected, mobile-ready enterprise content management platform in the world. A lot of buzzwords there, but there's a lot of good features and customer-proven innovation that's gone into Alfresco 4. So to take a look at that I think is well worth the time. There's many features I can talk about today, but I do want to hit on some of the key features of Alfresco 4 that Flatiron is leveraging in this in the case study that they presented. On the social publishing platform, there's kind of three that we're outlining here, one around publishing to social channels. And so with your content in Alfresco, you can publish it out to several common social media channels, so like YouTube or Flickr or SlideShare. You can manage all that inside of Alfresco and launch that to those social networks whenever at the right time. You can schedule it, and you can have it go through approvals and all that process in the publishing of it. And then on the far right, you can also like and follow key contributors or content inside of Share, so you can, as an internal system, that all the users can kind of can promote the content and the documents that are relevant to what your company is doing. But I want to spend a little bit more time talking about activity because Eric was talking about that as a key part of their of the solution. As noted in the previous presentation, workflow is a key part of Alfresco 4 and the upgrade that we've made here. It's in a lightweight workflow and business process management engine targeted for business people, but also developers and system admins. Anyone can easily create and control content workflows from the point of document ingestion through the life cycle of the document process. Activities display is easy and intuitive enough for business people to jump in and create and manage their own workflows and then change them as they grow. One of the ways that Eric was talking about this was the metadata management and having the content come in and the metadata being managed through the flow. And that's a key part of that solution, and many of our customers find that as a great value of Alfresco. And then jumping ahead to some administrative functions, on the console side, there's a centralized console that contains just powerful ways to leverage the platform for easy change management and updating. And then on the far right, with your own company branding for a personalized look and feel. But in the middle, once again, coming back to the case study that was just presented, solar is a new part of Alfresco 4. Previously, we were using the open source search engine Lucene, but we've provided the option to use Apache Solar and disassociate the index serving from the Alfresco environment. So as you could see in that triangle that was originally pictured there, Solar was used to search, but is also plugging into what SmartLogic was is part of the solution. And so that takes us to this picture that we have that we're calling Cloud-Connected Content. What that means for us is that wherever your destination for your content is, having it start in Alfresco provides you flexibility to be able to publish it out to corporate websites as well as social sites easily. You can integrate it in with content services at your desktop through WebDAV, SIFs, and IMAP, as well as a SharePoint integration, and we can publish it out through web services like Dropbox and Google Docs. And then you can also collaborate either in public or private clouds as well as on a mobile tablet. So wherever your content needs to end up, be it published externally, be it collaborated internally, or just providing services around it, Alfresco is a great place to have that document, that content reside. Which brings us to a business case that we published together with Forrester in December of 2001. Alfresco 10 months, and that's based on studying several key customers that we have that where Alfresco is installed. But with Alfresco 4, one of the things that we find is that there's additional features that we feel the business case will actually improve, and that payback will happen sooner. From increased user adoption and increased enterprise value, so more employees can leverage the content and use it inside the environment. From a decreased need for additional tools, and so it's built-in social publishing and free mobile apps, just a way to provide savings along the way. With additional performance and scalability and administration improvements means lower operating costs, and so it's up more and it's available to more users more often. And as well as providing B2B collaboration outside the firewall for higher productivity. So with CloudSync that's coming in very soon, whether your content is in on-site or it needs to be shared in the cloud for external vendors or external agents, that they can have access to it in a secure way, which is this whole cloud-connected content paradigm that we're shifting to. And what we're finding is a lot of what Eric was talking about earlier when they're dealing with clients is that everyone's looking for these better processes and we're looking for better delivery models. and customers are needing to be able to find their content and use it in many places. The shift is taking place actually across the entire enterprise content management environment. Once ECM was about hiding content away and only letting a select group of special users use it. But today what we're finding is that by socializing content and sharing it within your organization is making it that much more powerful and making organizations realize that much more value out of the content that they have and making people more productive. Being a global organization, Alfresco realizes that this reality that the content must always be available whenever and wherever our people are. And we accomplished it through this cloud-connected content paradigm. So what this means for us is that the content's available on any device, whether it be a smartphone or a tablet, whether you be in front of a browser or on inside your organization, with an intuitive and a user-friendly interface, that it's integrated and synced with other complementary cloud services like a Dropbox, that you're able to publish it out to social sites so that it can be shared, and then it can be collaborated inside or outside the firewall. So depending on what your company needs, being able to share it with external vendors and agencies so that that content can be everyone has the latest content at their fingertips. And still, the value of this is that it's always controlled and administered at the enterprise level. And so content isn't just rolling off the table, but it's really secure in understanding where it is at all times. A key part of this is just having mobile connectivity. And so with a global workforce and having people remote, it's to be able to have everybody have access to that content so that they can pull it up through a mobile device, search on it, browse, be able to socialize it externally, be able to edit it. So there's an integration with QuickOffice, and you can open up the document, make changes, and then save it back or send it out via email to somebody else inside your organization, just done very easily in a tablet environment. And that's a little bit about Alfresco and a little bit about how we integrate into the solution. And Maya, I think I need to turn it back to you to continue the next part of the presentation.
Thanks, Joe. Toby is now going to share with us what content intelligence is and how to effectively use semaphore ontologies and automated classification to manage content ingestion and production processes, workflows, and user groups within Alfresco, as well as with Apache Solar to maximize the accuracy and completeness of search results to provide compelling websites. Welcome, Toby, and over to you.
Thank you, Maya. Okay, so what I'm going to cover in terms of the agenda for my presentation today is firstly to help you understand how your website can deliver more value and even more revenue for your business, to look a little bit behind the scenes at how you can make the production of content easier, how you can generate the necessary metadata, and then to provide some. So what can metadata do for your website and for your business? And in fact, you might be surprised just how much. So firstly, metadata can be used to drive more traffic to your website. And when those people arrive at the website, to help them find the things that they are looking for with their visit. Further, to help them to support the different user journeys they may have or desire when they arrive at the site. And then behind the scenes, to be able to enable you to reuse and repurpose content more often and more effectively, to support the way content is ingested and produced, and also to help you write more compelling content that meets the objectives for your site. So all of that said, how? So the first claim for metadata is that it can drive more traffic to your website. And for an excellent example of this, if you do the Google website and you do a search for a very topical subject of global warming, then you'll see right at the top of the results set, in fact second only to Wikipedia, is a page on the New York Times site, what we would describe as a topic page. So what is a topic page, and how does it enable the New York Times to drive so much traffic? A topic page is a dynamically generated page which is generated using a metadata query. All content that is important to the subject of global warming, in this case, is tagged up with metadata as such. And then when the query is produced, all content associated and important to global warming will appear on that page. So the moment a new piece of content is tagged up with that new topic of global warming, then it will automatically refresh the topic page with that new content. So from Google's page ranking perspective, there is a page of highly linked content that is highly relevant to the topic, that is continuously refreshed, that contains all the right vocabulary, that has the right tags and titles and URLs. And so as a result, it scores extremely highly on the page ranking algorithms and drives your pages right to the top of the search results. Now, how does Google find all of these dynamically generated pages? Well, they're simply linked to from an A to Z list of all the topics contained in your taxonomy or ontology, and that A to Z topic list is simply linked to from somewhere on the home page. So Google will find all of this content. And when users arrive on these topic pages, having searched on Google or Bing or wherever, you can create links to other important topics or products or services which the arriving user might be interested in. So whatever their user journey, you can continue to support it, and that in turn is going to reduce your bounce rate and increase the dwell time and make your website much more effective. Now, how many of these topic pages can you have? Well, actually, that's only limited by the amount of content you have, because these topic pages are generated automatically for you. And in the case of the Times, they have literally thousands of different topic pages, all being automatically generated. You know, all these thousands of topic pages are busily working away to drive all kinds of relevant traffic to the Times site. That's really how you can use metadata to drive a lot more traffic and visitors to your site. Now, what about search and navigation, which you know, Eric pointed out was so important earlier on? So when users conduct a free text query, they tend to submit search queries which are very short, ambiguous, and often an approximation of what they're really interested in. You know, if you ask a poor question, then you normally, it's very much true with a search engine, you're going to get a pretty bad set of results based on that kind of query. So to give you an example of that, let's imagine that I had gone to a doctor or physician, and I had been diagnosed with myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as ME. So I get home and I want to research that topic on a website. I can't remember how to spell myalgic encephalomyelitis, so I search for ME instead. And the problem is that we get results that contain the word me, so cherubism and me, and contraception, what's right for me, and so on and so forth. So really not a very good set of results. Now, with metadata queries, we can be much more conversational about the search process. So this time, we conduct a search for ME again, and immediately the website can suggest topics to me. So in this case, it recognizes that ME is a synonym for myalgic encephalomyelitis, and that's a more friendly name for that is chronic fatigue syndrome. And if I click on that topic, then we jump straight to the most relevant set of search results for chronic fatigue syndrome. But more than just presenting the most relevant and important results, because we now know exactly what the user is interested in, there's no ambiguity in that, we can present all kinds of relevant navigation to take the user wherever they may want to go next. So, overviews or treatments or symptoms or ways of filtering down the content and so forth. And the same kind of methodology can be used to help you increase cross-selling and upselling. So, for example, here we're searching for a wedding, and we have a set of results relevant to that. On the right-hand side, we can offer other relevant things the user might want to buy or consume. So, florists and photographers and, decorations and even hog roasts. And this whole paradigm of supporting user journeys can be a very interactive and dynamic and intelligent experience. So back to our example earlier, in a healthcare context, if a user's searching for a particular topic, we can present them relevant results. But we can give them a very kind of visual way of navigating to along other user journeys. So, finding out how to treat chronic fatigue syndrome. Antidepressants are an option for that, and we could then go and explore, how antidepressants work and how to get tests and screenings and so on and so forth. And really, this applies to pretty much any type of user journey. It's pretty common that websites have to deal with people who have some kind of interest or requirement, to be able to help them define and understand what the problem is, to be able to see which products and services help with that particular requirement, and then how to go about purchasing them or finding more information out about them, or whatever it may be. So this kind of paradigm really helps the website to become, if you like, a sales assistant that really leads the person through the sales process and gets them towards some kind of ability to buy or consume or make contact. Now, going behind the scenes a little bit, a very important point to cover is that content and documents which go on websites tend to have multiple purposes and multiple topics with which that content can be useful for. And the traditional approach of having a sort of static navigational structure where a page fits one place into the hierarchy and serves only one purpose is very wasteful, particularly as the volume of content and users grows. And this is exactly what Intel found with their global website. And so what they did instead was to classify all of their content against multiple different dimensions, so products and services and applications for their processors and so on and so forth. And as a result, they were able to much better populate the navigation structure with content that was relevant and to be able to deliver much better search results to people, because now they're showing all of the content that's relevant rather than something which just fits into one place. So they're able to deliver a better experience on the website, but also to effectively produce much less content for the same result. So how do you go about creating all of this rich metadata that describes your content? Well, one option is to ask the authors of the content to manually tag up the content with all of this rich metadata. But in reality, it tends to be done poorly. It tends to be incomplete and inconsistent. So instead, it's better to use technology to analyze the content, to determine what metadata applies to describe the content, and then optionally to allow users to confirm that as part of the publishing process. And so that metadata can live with the content throughout its life cycle and have many purposes. For example, during the production process, the metadata can ensure that the content covers all the right topics, that the content travels through the right workflows in order to complete it and approve it, that it's constructed from multiple different assets in the correct way, and that the different components are choreographed together, that you cover all the right things in the right languages to determine when content should be updated, refreshed, superseded, and even to ensure that content is delivered to the right people and secured and protected in the right way. And then when it comes to searching and navigating, that metadata helps you understand what the content is, who it's about, and what purpose it serves in order to make the website more relevant to users, whatever their interests. So this idea of having a model which describes how the website supports all these different users and user journeys helps us to write better content as well. So imagine in this example here that we're writing content for our website, and it's about our software products. So it needs to cover the different modules of our software, the different capabilities. Importantly, it needs to be able to describe the advantages that those products create, the benefits that derive from those advantages, the business issues that are addressed from them, who's likely to be interested, and how that may vary from sector to sector. So having this model and using it when the content is actually created allows us to ensure that whatever the user journey, for whatever the target audience, we're going to do a great job of getting our messages across. Now this technology is all integrated into the alfresco environment and can be used for other content management platforms as well. So essentially, as the content is authored and created and ingested, it can be automatically classified. The rich metadata is stored inside the alfresco system and can be used to drive the workflows and to choreograph the content. But equally, that metadata then flows downstream into the search, in this example, using the Solar platform. And that can then be used to improve the search and navigation experience and to create the kind of compelling support for different user journeys that we've described today. So in conclusion then, as sites become necessarily more complicated and sophisticated to meet the expectations of users and to help organizations to compete in the online world, content intelligence really provides a great way of reducing the cost of producing the content, making more compelling content, and delivering much better support for users and different user journeys. And by taking the right approach with these kinds of technologies, we can ensure that the site can continue to evolve and improve as may be required by the business. So I hope you found that useful and interesting and generated some ideas. And with that, I'll pass back to Maya.
Thanks, Toby. We're now going to turn back to Eric as he's going to show us a demo of the joint solution of Alfresco, Solar Apache, and Semaphore. Eric?
Maya. So going back to the case study here, what I want to show is how all of this technology that's running behind the scenes and in helping to prepare the content actually can result in a pretty simple and intuitive interface to get to the kind of pinpointed search and navigation that we're looking for here. And this is a proprietary project, so I can't show you everything, and we have even tweaked the data just a bit to respect that confidentiality, but I think this will give you a pretty good idea of what we're talking about here. So this is a screen that is actually an internal back-end search screen that the customer is using, and it is built on top of Alfresco Share, as Joe talked about. And the first thing to notice about this is that we actually are giving people two different ways to search or discover what's in the content. On the left is a tree browser, and this is where we have multifaceted taxonomies that can be opened up and explored that are actually using the official taxonomy terms. But there's also, right of that, a search as you type box, which is where Apache Solar comes into the picture. And this gives you the ability to type in kind of a free text query sort of fashion with that kind of flexibility. and yet be searching a very precise indexing of the taxonomies, including the ability to get to the same spot by using alternative search terms, and in fact, ability to sometimes do some misspelling and things like that and still get to where you want to go. So if we start there, and we show in this case somebody attempting to find some information about lawn equipment, and they are typing in a vendor name Troy-Bilt, and the actual brand name is B-I-L-T, but they, hard to see here, but they have actually typed in the regular English spelling of B-U-I-L-T. But that's the kind of thing that can be tolerated and find the actual correct taxonomy term with the brand name B-I-L-T. As they type, they'll see a whole bunch of things that are produced by Troy-Bilt in this case. But as they go a little further and type the letters ED, you'll notice that we've got it down now to 3 specific Troy-Bilt projects, or products rather, that are lawn edgers. And this is very quickly getting them to the same place that they would have gotten to if they had opened up the tree browser and gone down, in this case, through equipment types, and under lawn and garden and the subheading or sub-node here, lawn trimmers and edgers, gotten down to see what's produced by the vendor Troy-Bilt. If we go back to the search as you type option one more time, we could have actually clicked on the one of those 3 results had on the prior screen and said that's the one we want. Or this is showing typing a few more letters, D-O in this case, and getting right to the double blade edger. So let's say this is what in fact they are looking for. So clicking on this results in us formally selecting that taxonomy term for the Troy-Bilt TB516 double blade edger. And at the same time, a search has been launched into alfresco to find what content is associated with that taxonomy term, which means which content has metadata applied to it that indicates it's at this node in the taxonomy. And in this case, we see that there are 2 things that popped up. One is the operator's manual for the edger, and the other is a replacements parts list. And had this been a more complicated piece of equipment, like an automobile or that kind of thing, this is where the content could be much more granular. So had we described a little bit more about what we're trying to do with it, or the specific subassembly we're interested in, or that kind of thing, that could drill it down to more granular content. For this simple example, it's just a lawn edger, and no reason to do much more than say, here's the operator's manual for it. But again, if this is what you want, basically you can check it off and click a button that will allow it to be published and delivered. And so, or internally, could start a workflow or do other things that are associated with internal business processes. So that's the idea. It's meant to be pretty much as simple and intuitive as less effective search interfaces in terms of the feel of it, but to do a much, much better job. A little approach, which I just showed you the English language piece of this, but as we go into the multiple language, here's the idea as to how all of this is being set up. The taxonomy itself will be based on the English terms, since that's what we have started with as a default. But as languages are added, Smart Logic semaphore technology will maintain the one-to-one linking between the multilingual search terms and alternative search terms that relate to the various nodes on the core English language technology. And meantime, alfresco will automatically replicate the English language metadata terms to the equivalent multilingual content and maintain links between there. So what this means is that it doesn't really matter what language I'm starting in. I will use my own language's search terms, and I will get content back that is in my own language. But it's all going through, for consistency's sake, it's all going through the same core taxonomy. So to summarize all of this in terms of before and after picture of where the value is here, before, search was pretty basic, using technology that was state-of-the-art in its time. but we can do much better now, and that's part of the competitive advantage for our customers. So now this is using multifaceted search and navigation using the SmartLogic taxonomies or ontology and the classification that goes along with that. The search paradigm before was pretty much an exact match kind of thing. Now we're talking about allowing synonyms and nicknames, the alternative search terms, and adding stemming and misspellings and so forth as things that we can tolerate. Content before was relatively monolithic because the processes were difficult enough to get that kind of thing set up. But now it's granular and it's segmented much more effectively, and all that complexity is being managed by alfresco underneath. Toby had talked about the disadvantages of trying to manually apply metadata or classification. There's certainly still some manual parts of the process here, but SmartLogic can be leveraged for automatic classification and enrichment, and as Toby also mentioned, analysis through the text mining features that can show you how content is being used and is part of how we figure out what those alternative search terms ought to be. Of course, as we just talked about, going from English language to something that can effectively support multilingual search and content. And finally, the workflows that have tended to be optimized for processes that were not or not targeted with such online dynamic delivery are being streamlined and automated with alfresco activity, as we've discussed. So that's kind of in a nutshell is what all this is able to do. And again, it's the bottom line value is being more competitive and being able to expand into global markets with that same kind of feature set. So with that, I will turn it back to Maya.
Thanks, Eric. I have to tell you, after watching that demo, I know a lot more about lawnmowers and edgers, and I know my husband will be really happy. So thank you very much to Eric, Joe, and Toby. Now that we've had the presentations and the demo, I'd like to open the webinar to questions. Please use the Q&A window in the lower corner of the webinar dialog screen. I see that there are some questions there in the queue already, so please make sure you get your thoughts in as soon as possible. Okay, so let me start off with the first question, and this is for Toby. Toby, can Semaphore's Ontology Manager integrate with a customer's existing ontology?
Yes, it can. There's two answers to that, depending on exactly what the question means. If it's simply to integrate with the client's existing ontology, then it's simply a case of importing it into the tool, and that's a very simple thing to do generally. If it means existing ontology software, in other words, they've already got a platform by which they're managing the ontology and they want to keep that in place, then the answer to that is also yes. There are APIs for synchronizing models into Semaphore so they can be maintained somewhere else, but synchronized with Semaphore and then used for classification and enhancing the search and navigation experience, but it's a little bit more involved in the latter.
Okay, thank you. Again, another question for you, Toby. Can you talk a little bit more about how Semaphore helps drive traffic to websites? What sort of commercial search engine optimization is achieved using Semaphore?
Well, it's certainly something that's done in conjunction with your existing SEO efforts, because SEO will perhaps tune the way in which titles and URLs and tags are added, but all of that effort can be driven by a semantic model like an ontology. And the important thing is that having worked out what searches you want to be associated with on the major websites, that you can generate topic pages for those automatically, because they're going to ensure that you've got some extremely highly scoring from a page ranking perspective pages, which are continually being refreshed and updated with new content, which is something that Google cares certainly a lot about. But certainly, the process of building a topic page simply means that you need some kind of content, which assumedly you already have some of, that you use a content management system template to construct a page of that content using a metadata query, and that all of that content has been tagged up with the topics that you want to capture user audiences for. But certainly, if you want to get more detail than that, then we could, follow up with some kind of meeting.
Okay, thanks, Toby. The next question is for Joe. How or is governance tackled within alfresco? And Toby, I guess this part is for you. Can Semaphore help in any way?
Can you repeat the question one more time, please?
How is governance tackled within alfresco? Governance. I suppose maybe asking in terms.
Gotcha. And so I think that the way that this was presented in this case study is that was handled through the solution. But in terms of governance of the records or the documents in there, the records management is something that could manage the whole governance process and of documents in there. But I'm not on the question exactly. I'm happy to kind of follow up outside the call or with a more technical resource that can kind of respond to that.
Okay. And Toby, do you want to add anything to that in terms of how Semaphore can help with metadata management?
Well, normally the way in which content governed depends on what the content is. So, from a records management perspective, you might put a different governance framework around proposal production and management than you might do around, an email or a meeting report or a letter to a client. What we are effective at doing is identifying what content is and generate data, and that metadata can be used then to apply the right governance policies and workflows to the content itself. So the two work very much hand in hand.
And this is Eric. I would just add too, I think a really key part that might underlie the question here is the management of the control vocabularies that are really how the taxonomies and related search terms are made up. And so there definitely is a process of both controlling and standardizing how that is done and evolving it over time as more experience is gained in terms of what are the best terms to be using and so forth. So there's a role for somebody to be watching over that, and there's also a lot of help that Semaphore can provide in managing those ontologies.
Thanks to all of you. The next question, and this is going to be our last question. It is for Eric and maybe Toby. Can you tell me a little bit more about how the automatic classification and enrichment processes work, and what steps can be done automatically and what things are still done manually?
Yeah, I'll start and just say that that's an interesting balancing act. The Semaphore technology is actually very good at doing automatic classification and can use a lot of sophisticated technology to help with that, including, as Toby had mentioned before, text mining, which is kind of an analysis process to figure out how you might start to set up your rules for automated classification. But we found that in general, especially for this kind of an application in our case study, that there has to be human subject matter experts that kind of check the results of the automated processes and may need to tweak and correct and then learn in terms of how to tune some of the rules and so forth from that. The other thing we see is that a lot of times there are pieces of that classification or the metadata that are very well known and easily entered manually when you start a process. So, for example, if you did a batch of Troy-built products, one could enter Troy-built into their or have it in an XML file or something with the content and not have to have that be something that is derived by the automated classification software. So it's kind of a balancing act between those two, but you want to get as much power of the automated classification as you can.
Toby, do you want to add anything to that? We have about a minute left.
Yeah, I mean, certainly support everything that Eric says there. I think the other area that really takes a little bit of thought is to actually want to classify the content and what represents good results. So, and to do that, you really need to think about what is the user experience that you're trying to achieve, and what do people care about when they are searching and navigating on the site. And certainly, that's partly achieved usually through some workshops and analysis, but also you can mine search and usage logs to get more of a feel for that. But that's an important part of the process.
Thank you. I see there are a few other questions, and the responses and the questions that I've been getting show that there's a lot of interest in this particular topic. So maybe we'll do another seminar around the same topic in the near future. At this point, we're really out of time for this webinar. I'd like to thank our guests, Eric Severson, Joe Tong, and Toby Conrad, for a very informative webinar, and of course, you, the audience. If you have any other questions or would like to discuss this topic in greater detail, please email us at marketing@smartlogic.com, and we'll make sure we get back to you. We will also make a recording of this webinar available on demand. And I would say probably sometime around Monday, you will get a link to this recording, so keep an eye out for that. For those of you in the Bay Area, I'd like to remind you to join us for our very first seminar with Microsoft and NetWoven, another partner of ours, on May 8th at the Microsoft San Francisco offices. Our guest speaker will be Eric Wolf from Applied Materials. So again, that should be a very interesting and exciting event. Make sure you reserve your spot now, as space is limited, and they are filling up fast. On that note, I bid you all goodbye and thanks, and have a great day. Bye.